Now, Nigeria featured highly at the World Economic Forum on Africa in Kigali, Rwanda, and the focus has been on boosting growth. From an average yearly growth of around 7% over the last decade, the collapse of oil prices and, of course, a fixed currency peg has seen growth fall to around 3% in 2015. And then the IMF is saying or forecasting a GDP growth of just 2.3% in 2016. Ramah Nyang spoke to Standard Chartered Head of Africa Research, Razia Khan, about the policies Nigeria needs to restart growth.
With Nigeria, one could look at lower oil prices in two ways. One is it causes huge dislocations in the economy. It means weak growth for some time. It's very difficult to deal with. The other way is this could perhaps be the catalyst. This could be the spur for the reforms that Nigeria has needed for so long. We know that the oil sector only accounts for 10% of GDP. We know that Nigeria has a very, very low rate of revenue mobilization, lower even compared to other oil-producing peers. So this could be Nigeria's big opportunity. Unfortunately, if one looks at the policy choice, the issue should never have been presented as a devaluation. The issue is really about the required amount of flexibility in the exchange rate. Do you have a system where the exchange rate can act as a buffer in the event of an external shock?
So did we frame it wrongly, perhaps?
Perhaps there was too much focus on the binary issue of should Nigeria devalue or not devalue. Even if Nigeria were to devalue its currency today, for the sake of the argument, that does not necessarily improve the situation. What is needed is a currency regime with sufficient flexibility where demand and supply have some role in determining outcomes.
And away from monetary policy and essentially political impediments as well.
What is needed is a more flexible system where activity in Nigeria isn't constrained because it's only the real economy that takes on the entire burden of adjustment to the external shock. That means if you don't have an exchange rate that can move around, you're basically saying, I'm going to sacrifice all the growth that I need to try to keep this exchange rate realistic. And I wonder if the trade-offs are probably understood, if there really would be an appreciation that this is the best way forward for Nigeria. Many people think it's inevitable that at some point there will have to be an adjustment of some nature.
What are the key things as far as fiscal policy in Nigeria that we must fix within the next 6 months?
Nigeria is fortunate in a sense in that it's starting from such a low base in terms of revenue mobilization. Surely the situation can only get better. Surely we can see an improved tax effort. Surely the efficiency unit that has been set up at the finance ministry, the great reforms that have been put in place in terms of ensuring greater transparency, the establishment of an operational treasury single account. These are all important reforms. Unfortunately, they have been somewhat overshadowed by this issue of exchange rate flexibility and whether it's curbing activity in Nigeria to such an extent that even though important things are being done on transparency and over time important things will be done on revenue mobilization, no one's seeing it for the moment because the big fixation is with weak, below trend growth in Nigeria to an extent that the country can't really afford.